When it comes to banking law, there are few roles that seem so simple on the surface, but are actually loaded with legal complexity. I'm talking about the collecting banker. So today, we're going to lay out a really clear roadmap, especially for you law students, to get a handle on the duties, the risks, and the critical legal protections that define this entire role.
I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. You go and deposit a check. It's something you've probably done a million times without a second thought. But on the bank side of things, that little piece of paper is a total legal minefield. What if that check was stolen? Or what if the signature was a forgery? Who's on the hook? That's the big question we're digging into today.
All right, let's get into our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basics of what the banker's role actually is. Then we'll get into the two different legal hats they wear. From there, we'll look at the biggest risk they face, something called conversion, before we unpack the legal shield that's supposed to protect them, and crucially, all the conditions they have to meet to even use it. All right, first things first. Before we jump into all the risks and legal drama, we need to be absolutely clear on what a collecting banker is actually doing on a day-to-day basis. So what is a collecting banker? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's your bank collecting the payment from a check on your behalf. Now, what's really interesting is that there's no law that says a bank has to do this. But, in the real world of modern banking, it's a totally standard and essential service, especially for crossed checks, which you can't just cash at the counter. On the surface, the process looks dead simple, right? You deposit your check, your bank zips it off to a clearinghouse to get the cash from the other bank, and once the funds are realized, basically once the money is confirmed, it lands in your account. Easy. But here's the thing. The mechanics are easy. The legal part, the status of the bank during that process, that's where things get complicated. And this right here is where things get really interesting for law students. The bank isn't just one thing in this process. It can be acting in two totally different legal capacities. And honestly, getting your head around this is the key to understanding everything else. Okay, so they can either be a simple agent, just acting on your behalf, or they can level up and become a holder for value, which is a much, much stronger position to be in. The difference between these two roles is everything. It dictates their rights, their risks, and exactly how liable they are if something goes wrong. Let's break them both down. So when the bank is just an agent, the setup is pretty straightforward. You're the principal, the bank is your agent. They have a duty to act with skill and care. But, and this is the big catch, as an agent, the bank's legal right to that check is no better than yours. So if you, for whatever reason, have a defective title to that check, well, so do they. And that means they could find themselves personally liable to the check's true owner for a legal wrong we call conversion. Now, things change when a bank becomes a holder for value, or HFV. This happens when the bank gives you value for the check before the money has actually cleared. Think about it. Maybe they give you cash for it right at the counter, or they let you withdraw the funds immediately, or maybe they take the check to pay off part of your overdraft. In all those cases, the bank isn't just your agent anymore. They've essentially bought the check, and now they hold it in their own right. All right, let's put this side by side to make it super clear. The real difference comes down to timing. An agent credits you after the money comes through. A holder for value gives you the value before. That gives the HFE a way stronger title since they hold it in their own name. But, and this is the key takeaway, look at that risk row. Whether they're an agent or an HFE, the bank is still liable if the customer's title was bad to begin with. Okay, so we've seen the two hats, but no matter which one the bank is wearing, they're always looking over their shoulder for one major legal threat. And this danger, this concept of conversion, is what underpins this entire topic. So what exactly is conversion? At its core, it's a tort, a civil wrong. Basically, it means you've messed with someone else's property. And yes, a check counts as property in a way that goes against the rights of the person who truly owns it. For a bank, it means they collected a check for a customer who never should have had it in the first place. And look, this isn't just some abstract legal theory. This liability pops up in really common everyday banking scenarios. For example, the bank could be liable if they don't catch that the name on the back doesn't match the name on the front, or if they open an account for someone brand new without doing the proper checks and right away start collecting big checks for them. Those are the kinds of red flags we're talking about. And just to drive the point home, take a look at this snippet from our source material. It shows just how high the stakes are. Even when the bank is in that stronger position, as a holder for value, if there's a forged endorsement somewhere down the line, they are liable to the true owner. And if their own customer disappears or can't pay up, the bank eats the loss. Simple as that. So you might be wondering, if the risk is that high, how do banks even function? How do they handle millions of checks every day? Well, the law doesn't just leave them hanging. It provides a powerful defense, a kind of legal shield. This lifeline comes from a specific law, the Negotiable Instruments Act. And the part we really care about is Section 131. And here's the core of it, right from the Act itself. It says that a banker who acts in good faith and without negligence when collecting a cross check is protected. They won't be liable to the true owner just for collecting the payment. Did you catch the key phrase? In good faith and without negligence. That's everything. But here's the big but, and it's a really important one. This shield is not automatic. The bank doesn't just get it. They have to earn it. They have to prove they deserve this protection, and the law is very strict about the conditions. The Act actually gives us a couple of important clarifications. First, it says the bank can still get protection even if they credited the customer's account before the check cleared. So they can act like a holder for value and still be covered. And second, for all the modern digital or truncated checks, which are everywhere now, the bank has a duty to do some basic checks to make sure it looks genuine and hasn't been tampered with. Okay, so let's boil it all down to the absolute must-haves. Think of it as a 4-point checklist the bank has to pass to get protection. 1, the check has to be crossed. 2, they have to be collecting it for an actual customer. 3, they need to be acting as an agent. And 4, the big one, they must have acted in good faith and without any negligence. Fail on just one of these, and that legal shield, it's gone. And that brings everything full circle, doesn't it? If a bank's actions are deemed negligent, that legal shield disappears. They are now on the hook to the true owner of that check. So if their own customer, the person they collected it for, can't pay them back, who takes the hit? The bank does. And that shows you why these rules aren't just academic exercises. They have massive, real-world financial consequences.